The Eva upgrades are one of the most misunderstood aspects in Hollow Knight Silksong. In this guide, we will be covering exactly how they work, the requirements for getting all 5 of Eva's upgrades, and how to go about meeting those requirements before leaving Act 2. As usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. First, in case anyone does not know where to find Eva, she is located near Bone Bottom in Weavenest Atla. Feel free to skip ahead if you already know how to get there, but for everyone else, we will make our way to the entrance of Atla, which is along the east wall of Moss Grotto. We will need the Needolin ability to open the door there, and I have guides that I will link near the bottom of this video's description for all Act 1 and all Act 2 traversals. If it's our first time in the Weavenest, we'll need to go all the way east and hit 2 buttons to turn the power back on. We can then use the central lift to descend into the nest. There's a bench for us to sit at just west of there, and Eva is found to the east through several segments of destructible debris. The requirements for the first Eva upgrade are very low. At most, you will need 1 additional crest outside of the Hunter's Crest. Eva will offer us insight, and accepting it will evolve our Hunter's Crest for the first time. Now for additional upgrades, we will need to unlock more new crests and use memory lockets to open up their tool slots. The Eva upgrades that we can get will be determined by the number of unlocked tool slots that we have in crests that are not the Hunter's Crest. So we don't need to use memory lockets on the Hunter's Crest for any of the Eva upgrades, and taking that into account makes the math so much easier to understand. Also, for the purposes of this calculation, the slot for the Silk skill in any given crest will also count as a tool slot. With those rules established, let's get into the specific Eva upgrades and requirements for each. For the second Eva upgrade, which is the first Vesticrest upgrade, the yellow tool slot, we will need a total of 12 tool slots available in Non-Hunter Crests. This can be achieved by getting any 2 of the 3 Act 1 crests, the Reaper, Wanderer, or Beast Crest, and we will cover how to get those later in the video. We will then need to use memory lockets to unlock additional tool slots in those crests until we have a total of 12 tool slots available, and that includes the Silk skill slots and the tool slots that the crest already has unlocked when first obtained. What that means is just by getting all 3 of those crests, we will already be at a total of 11 slots available. The Wanderer and Reaper both start with 4, and the Beast starts with 3. We then just need to use 1 memory locket on one of them to get to the required 12. In my own gameplay, I unlocked the Reaper and Architect Crest, then fully unlocked all slots in the Architect Crest for a total of 7 spots there. With just the base Reaper Crest, I was only at 11 total slots and was not able to get the Vesticrest upgrade. Once I got the base Wanderer Crest though, my total slots available shot up to 15, and I was able to get the first Vesticrest slot from Eva. Now, for Eva's third upgrade, we will need a total of 20 slots available on Non-Hunter Crests. That means we will need at least 1 Act 2 crest with both the Reaper and Wanderer crests fully unlocked. If we go with the Architect Crest, we will then need to unlock all but 1 tool slot so that it has a total of 6 slots available. If we go with the Witch Crest, we will need to fully unlock all of its slots for a total of 6. The 6 slots from either of those, plus the 7 from the fully unlocked Reaper and 7 from the fully unlocked Wanderer, will get us to the required 20. That would take a total of 9 memory lockets to do. You could also do what I did and have 4 crests besides the Hunter unlocked, which would mean you need to invest less memory lockets overall to reach that 20 slots required. In my game, I had the Reaper and the Wanderer each with 5 slots, the Beast with 3, and the Architect with 7. This only took a total of 6 memory lockets to do. No matter how we go about it, we will not be able to get the second Vesticrest slot until Act 2. Fortunately, we can then get the remaining 2 Eva upgrades while still in Act 2. For the fourth Eva upgrade, which is the second evolution of the Hunter Crest, we will need a total of 27 slots available in Non-Hunter Crests. We can do this with just 4 crests, as long as those are the Reaper, Wanderer, Witch, and Architect Crest. Having those 4 crests fully unlocked, which will require 13 memory lockets, will bring our total slots to 27, 7 for each the Reaper, Wanderer, and Architect, plus 6 from the Witch brings our total to 27. In my game, I had all 5 non-Hunter Crests that we can get by Act 2, including that of the Beast. This allowed me to invest less memory lockets to reach the 27 slots required. I had a total of 6 slots in the Reaper, 5 in the Wanderer, 3 in the Beast, 6 in the Witch, and 7 in the Architect. That adds up to 27 total, and so it was enough. The final Eva upgrade, Sylphsong, will require just 5 more slots in non-Hunter Crests for a total of 32. This is where the Beast Crest comes in. It only has 5 slots when fully upgraded after just 2 more memory lockets, but that is enough when combined with the 4 other fully upgraded non-Hunter Crests. This will take a total of 15 memory lockets to do, and seeing as 18 memory lockets can be obtained in Acts 1 and 2, we have more than enough to get us there. Once all 5 of the non-Hunter Crests that can be obtained in Acts 1 and 2 have been fully unlocked or upgraded, we can speak with Eva and then bind her to get her final upgrade, Sylphsong. It's extremely useful as it allows us to top off our Silk at any bench we rest at. I should also mention that there is one more crest that can be unlocked in Act 3, which is for the Shaman. It starts with 3 slots and can have a total of 5, like that of the Beast. If you were to get that crest in addition to the other 5 non-Hunter Crests, you would only need to use a total of 12 memory lockets on non-Hunter Crests to get this final Eva upgrade. None of the Eva upgrades require us to invest any memory lockets in the Hunter's Crest, and doing so will not contribute to getting those upgrades. That said, there are enough memory lockets in the game, 20 total, to fully unlock all crests, including that of the Hunter. The only implication this really has is that if you want the Eva upgrades as soon as possible, then you should prioritize using memory lockets on non-Hunter Crests first, and only start upgrading the Hunter's Crest once all Eva upgrades are unlocked. While I'm fairly confident in my understanding of how this all works now, that doesn't mean I did the best job at explaining it, although I certainly tried. So if you still have any questions about it, you can reach out to me in the comments where I will do my best to help. Now let's cover how to actually go about unlocking these crests and the memory lockets that we will need to get the Eva upgrades. First, for the memory lockets, I have a super comprehensive guide on how to get all 18 memory lockets that are obtainable in Acts 1 and 2. That is 3 more than the 15 needed for all Eva upgrades. I will leave a link to that guide near the bottom of this video's description. As for the Act 1 and 2 crests that we can unlock, let's cover those here and now. The earliest one we can get is that of the Wanderer, and I'll show the path to get there now. One way to reach the Chapel of the Wanderer requires a simple key, and the other requires the Cling Grip. I'll show both ways of getting there, starting with the former. We'll start from the Marrow Bellway station and move west. This Bellway is a convenient starting point, but we actually don't even need to defeat the Bell Beast to get this crest. All we need is a simple key, and one can be obtained from Peb in Bone Bottom if we have enough rosaries. We'll hit the lever above if necessary, then drop down through the lower west passage of the first chamber in Mossholm. We should activate the lift below, which goes up and down between Bone Bottom, then cross the gap above. Swift Step makes crossing this gap a lot easier, but we can also cross it with no traversal abilities at all, so long as we can skillfully needle pogo off the Acnids. Beyond the Acnids, we will reach a long horizontal chamber that is initially guarded by a Craggler mini-boss. It's very nasty, and we will need to use each cover spot available to get through this cavern if we don't have Swift Step available. Even then, we are likely to get hit at least once on the final stretch out of this chamber. Passing into the next chamber, there is a mask shard that can be found behind a destructible wall below, and we will need to use a simple key on the door here to access the wormways. We will then carefully make our way down the first passage we see and move east down several chutes to get back to Bone Bottom. This is where our two paths to the Chapel of the Wanderer converge, so let's cover the way we can get there for free once we have Cling Grip. Starting from Bone Bottom, we can take that lift we unlocked earlier up to the large gap, just before the Wormway area. On the west edge of the gap, we can drop down and then activate our Drifter's Cloak as soon as we get into the area below. We can then float over to the west to land in a small room, and west from there to land atop a large bone structure. We will then move even further west from there. There's a tall vertical section that we can wall climb up to get into the westmost region of Bone Bottom. Regardless of the path we took to get here, we should now be able to drop down, quickly unlock the shortcut back to Bone Bottom to the east, which I failed to show here, then move a short distance west to the Chapel of the Wanderer's entrance. We'll need to watch out for traps as we make our way down to the central chamber, where a few waves of early game enemies will need to be defeated. Even though they are all fairly weak, this can be somewhat challenging, especially early in the game. Once we've defeated all waves, we can move west and down to reach the site where we will bind the Crest of the Wanderer. Moving out of the chapel and east will then bring us back to Bone Bottom. Next up is the Crest of the Reaper, and this one is super easy to reach once we get to Greymoor. The Cling Grips make it easier to reach, but I believe we can get there with just the Drifter's Cloak. Starting from the Greymoor Bellway, we will move west and into a tall tower structure. We will then need to reach the top of it if we haven't already unlocked the western shortcut out. Again, I'm using Cling Grips here, but I believe this can all be done without it. Near the top, we'll move out the western passage, then go down the next chamber in a zigzag pattern while unlocking a couple shortcuts along the way. The Chapel of the Reaper is about halfway down this chamber in an alcove along the western wall. Once inside, we'll make our way down, then up through a small platforming section to reach an arena. After defeating a few waves of enemies, we can go to the chamber above, where the Crest of the Reaper is unlocked. While the Wanderer Crest is pretty good for platforming, this one has it beat in my opinion. That's perfect because the next crest we will cover, that of the Beast, is at the far east end of Hunter's March, and the Reaper's Crest makes platforming through that area a lot easier. All we need to reach the Chapel of the Beast is the Drifter's Cloak, and we will start from the Marrow Bellway, then move east. After getting through a couple of chambers, we can drop down to a jailhouse to rest at, then go to the chamber above. We'll need to defeat the Scarguard mini-boss there before advancing further east into Hunter's March. Near the end of Hunter's March is an arena where several waves of Scar enemies will need to be defeated, and this is very challenging, especially if we come here as soon as possible. Overall, I recommend saving this area and Crest for near the end of Act 1 or even Act 2 after getting some upgrades there. After a couple of more platforming sections, we'll reach a large vertical chamber with an airstream at the center. We can ride it up to a room with a bench, but we must disable the trap by hitting the lever in the hidden chamber to the west of the bench. This will make the bench safe to sit at. This is a good checkpoint for the challenge coming up. Moving out of this room, we'll drop down the vertical chamber and go through the bottom east passage. There's a cage trap and Scar Stalker along this path that has captured me many times, so watch out for that. We can go beyond the airstream here to pick up a memory locket real quick, then move up the airstream to reach the Chapel of the Beast. We'll need to get through a somewhat tricky platforming section our first time through the chapel, but can hit a lever at the end of it to unlock a shortcut straight to the boss chamber. That's a good thing, because the Savage Beastfly boss we must defeat is extremely challenging, especially considering how early on it can be fought. I recommend doing everything you can in Act 1 to get stronger before facing it, and I don't even think it's a stretch to hold off fighting the Beastfly until after getting plenty of upgrades in Act 2. In any case, after we defeat the dang fly, we can go get our Beast Crest. The Crest of the Architect can only be obtained after reaching Act 2 and unlocking the Clawline ability. If you have not already done this, I recommend watching my guides for all Act 1 and Act 2 traversals, which will be linked near the bottom of this video's description. Likewise, there will also be a link to my comprehensive guide for how to unlock the Architect Crest, which covers how to get 31 different tools. That's because we will need a total of 25 tools unlocked in order to purchase the Architect's key from the Architect in the Underworks. We can then move up to the vault, where we are able to bind the Crest of the Architect. As a side note, this is probably my favorite crest, especially for frustrating boss fights. The last crest we can obtain while still in Act 2 is the Crest of the Witch. I also have a more comprehensive guide for the questline to get this crest linked down below, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version here. We'll need to start by descending through the Whispering Vaults to reach a secluded section of Bilewater where we will find the Twisted Bud. We then need to take that bud to Greyroot in Shellwood, complete their Rite of the Polyp quest if we haven't already done so, then give them the Twisted Bud and start the Rite of Rebirth quest. This will lead to us being afflicted with a terrible curse, no healing, and no tools. We will then need to escape the Chapel of the Witch and make our way to the nearest Bellway. This is entirely optional, but we will then need to defeat the final Act 2 boss while afflicted to get a secret ending and achievement. That achievement is called Twisted Child if you want to look up more info on how to get it and don't mind spoilers. I also cover it in a bit further detail in that other video I mentioned. I only mention it briefly here because it is entirely missable if we don't do it before curing our affliction. If we don't care about that achievement, we can just go to Yarnaby in Greymoor, start the Infestation Operation quest, go to Cruel and Benjen in Sinner's Road to buy the required steel spines, then return to Barnaby to be cured and unlock the Crest of the Witch. Again, all of this is covered in much further detail and with helpful walkthroughs in my complete guide video on how to unlock this crest. In any case, once we've gotten all of those non-hunter crests and used 15 of the 18 available memory lockets to fully upgrade them all, we can go speak with Eva to get all of her upgrades. We can also make trips to Eva throughout our entire journey to get her upgrades when and as we meet the requirements for each of the individual upgrades. The final 3 memory lockets that we get in Acts 1 and 2 can be used to fully upgrade the Hunter's Crest, though it is not required for the Eva upgrades. With that, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me in the comments where I will do my best to help. If you want to see more great content, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Friday and a great weekend. And as always, thanks for watching.